Okay, so it's recording now. So welcome. We're here to talk about ways to lose weight, but easily, helpfully, and just maybe ways that you haven't even thought of before in the past. So just a little disclaimer here from Premise Health. Go right by that. Okay, so a lot of people have talked about the COVID-15, and it's interesting because WebMD found about 60% of the people who have gained weight mentioned that it's due to stress. So there's so many reasons why we might be stressed during this time period. It could be just a fear of catching COVID, or we have the flu coming up. It could be dealing with jobs, either your job or your significant other's job. Kids are starting to go back to school, so they might be doing it remotely, or they might be going to school in person, so that causes a lot of issues. Some kids are going off to college. Some again are actually going to a college. Some are staying at home and going to college. Some people returning to an office, so you have to worry about childcare. Many people are taking care of not only children but their own parents or other family members. And then many people are just isolated. So there's a lot of reasons why during this time particularly that we have a lot of stress, and this is causing stress eating, binge eating, mindless eating. So a little science. Why do we overeat? Well, what happens is when we feel stressed, our body releases a hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol, a lot of people call this the stress hormone, and it actually increases our appetite. So when we have high cortisol levels, we crave these comfort foods, specifically foods that are high in sugar and fat. And then at the same time, there's another hormone called ghrelin that's released by our stomach that also increases our urge to eat. So with cortisol being increased and ghrelin, no wonder we feel like we want to eat more, binge more, make ourselves feel better. In fact, eating itself is used as a coping mechanism. So we use food to make ourselves eat better, feel better. So, and that's why we call it comfort food. Those foods that are like macaroni and cheese and fried chicken and all these other foods people enjoy because it reminds them of good times and it makes them feel better. However, after they finish eating it, do you feel better? Not necessarily. Usually, quite often we feel worse. So let's talk about the tips. So one big tip we need to do to reduce what we eat, to lose weight, is to focus on how we feel. So it's more about not what you're eating, but why are you eating? So recognizing those feelings of hunger. So quite often we look at the hunger scale. So you can see on the screen, it goes from 0 to 10. 0 is when your stomach's completely empty. You really, you're starving, you're ravenous, you haven't eaten in hours. To 10, where you feel sick to your stomach, like, you're nauseous. You feel like it's horrible. You gotta, unbuckle your pants. Really, it's a terrible feeling. You never want to be at any of these extremes. 3, hunger pains. That's normal. That's natural. Actually, that's okay to be that spot, and it's okay to feel up to number 7. So between the ranges 3 to 7, that's where we want to be. So we never want to feel super hungry, and we never want to feel like we overate, or even the feeling of full is quite often too much. So let's say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you feel like you have to eat. Think about that hunger scale. Think about how do you feel? Are you really hungry? Do you feel maybe those hunger pangs? Or is it something else? Maybe you feel neutral. maybe there's something else that's bothering you. So think about, are you hungry or not? If you're really not hungry, think about what is making you feel this way. Maybe you need to do something. Go get a drink of water. So I think drinking water is one of the best things you could do before you eat anything, because quite often we're actually thirsty and not hungry. So have a drink of water. Make a phone call, perhaps. Let's say it's something work related and you're feeling stressed. Maybe you need to call a coworker, or maybe you just need to call a friend and vent. And quite often, after we do that, we feel better. Or maybe just take a walk. Even walk around your house or your apartment. Do something. Just get out of the kitchen. But let's say you think you're hungry and you haven't eaten since lunchtime. You probably are hungry. You probably could get something to eat. So at that point, you probably are at number 3, or maybe even number 4. Have a snack. There's absolutely nothing wrong with eating when you're actually hungry. So listen to your body. And then as you're eating, you also want to listen to how your body feels in terms of being satisfied. So you never want to get that feeling of being full again. It takes about 20 minutes for our body to recognize feelings of satisfaction or fullness. So eat slowly. That's something else. Just eat slowly. And this will also help you from overeating, which will get you to the other side of that hunger scale. We never want to overeat. So making sure that you're eating when you're actually hungry and not overeating are 2 really big tips to ensure that you're eating healthfully and to lose weight. So again, this is a comparison against mindless eating and mindful eating. So mindless eating, that's when we're not recognizing the feelings of hunger, not looking at that hunger scale. Mindful eating is when we're listening to our body and stopping when we're satisfied. Mindless eating is when we're eating due to emotions, when we're feeling stressed or bored or maybe isolated. Whereas mindful eating is when we're again we're listening to our body, and we're listening to when we're feeling hungry. Our stomach is telling us that you haven't eaten in 3-4 hours or 5 hours. You got to eat. Mindless eating is eating randomly, just like going into the kitchen and picking at something and not really thinking about like why you're eating. Mindful eating is eating at set times and places. So I always recommend when you do eat at a table. Eat at your table where you usually eat, not in front of your computer or front of the TV. Eating should be done at a kitchen table, dining room table, wherever you typically eat. And, at your schedule. So I know for myself, I generally have breakfast around 7:30. I'll eat my lunch around 11:30. I have a snack around 3 o'clock, and then I have dinner around 7:30 or so. So it's pretty structured. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a little structure in your eating behaviors, and that will also help keep you from overeating. Mindless eating is eating foods that are emotionally comforting. So, having that macaroni and cheese. There's actually nothing wrong with having macaroni and cheese. You want to have that at a mealtime, and you want to have that in a certain portion size. So, again, it's not eating it because it's you don't want to eat it because it's emotional. You want to eat it because that's what you prepared for dinner. Eating and multitasking. So again, that's mindless. You can't taste your food if you're eating and working at the same time. Before you know it, the food is gone, and you don't even remember eating. So what you want to do again is you want to sit at the table. You want to eat. You want to taste that food. You want to smell that food. You want to enjoy it. You want to eat slowly to really sense everything that's going on in your body while you're eating. And lastly, considering a meal an end product. Well, you want to consider the food as something important that gives you energy. You're not eating it because it's making you feel comforted. You're eating it because it's going to give you some fuel. It's going to make you feel strong, and because it tastes good too, and it's nutritious, and it's good for your body. So what else? You know, plan your meals and snacks. Don't graze. That gets back to the mindful eating. Don't buy trigger foods. So if you have those trigger foods in your house, chances are you're going to eat it. So be aware of, the chips you might bring in, or crackers, or candies, or cakes, or whatever it is, whatever your trigger food is. If you don't have it available, it's hard to binge on those foods. And eat slowly. Really taste that food and enjoy it. So let's say you do have a piece of chocolate. Enjoy that piece of chocolate. Really taste it. Don't just pop it in your mouth and swallow it, because you won't be able to taste it. You want to chew it and enjoy it. There are also a couple of things besides food that will help you eat better, and also will help you lose weight. And one of them is actually sleep. So if you don't get enough sleep, what happens is your cortisol levels go up. And as I mentioned in a prior slide, when your cortisol levels are high, that's when we have an increased appetite. Not only do we have an increased appetite, but it also increases inflammation in our body. So getting enough sleep is really important. It also helps with our concentration, our decision-making skills. So if you get enough sleep, which is about 7 to 8 hours a night, you're able to think more clearly, which also will impact how you're eating. So if you're not thinking clearly, quite often we use food, we think, oh God, I'm so tired, I'm going to eat something to give me energy. What we end up doing is we end up picking the wrong foods, and we also end up overeating. So work on getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Another one is breathing, stress relief. So reducing our stress levels are overall going to help us, because again, it will decrease cortisol and also the ghrelin hormone that I was talking about in the prior slide too. Doing things like meditation, it just allows our body to relax. And there's so many studies on how meditation helps with stress. It also helps us with focus. It's really very important for our body to be able to just relax. And breathing, you can do that anytime during the day. I'm not just saying, right now we're all breathing, but just taking deep, healthy breaths in and out slowly. So if something is bothering you, just take some mindful breaths. If you're hungry, again, maybe just breathe deeply. And after you breathe deeply for a period of time, it's possible that you won't feel hungry again. All right. So those are our nutrition hacks for the day. Any questions?
No, it's pretty good.
All right. Great.
It is funny when you're saying that, when you, let's say if you have chocolate, you got to eat it slowly, right? Because that's the problem. If you eat it, or anything you like, too quickly, then you don't taste it, and that's why you have to go for more.
Exactly. Like there's no bad foods. It's all about quantity, and basically it's all about quantity. So chocolate, nothing wrong with having a piece of chocolate, but it's the quantity of chocolate. So if we could control the amount that we're eating and enjoying, that's really that's how a person can maintain weight and also lose weight. Is you can have the foods you really enjoy. It's just how much and the frequency.
I just never really thought about saying, if the faster you eat it, right, the less you actually taste it, but you know what it's supposed to taste like.
Yes.
And that's why you go for more, right? Because, the first bite, I didn't really taste it, right? So I have to have another one.
Right.
If the first bite you actually ate it slowly, you already have that sensation of what it tastes like.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's how you could keep just having maybe one piece or two pieces and not a whole box.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't eat it as quick. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I always had some friends that would have, when they, as kids, right, growing up, would get money to go get candy on Saturdays only, right? Whereas my brother and I were allowed to eat candy at any time. There was no restrictions, right? I mean,
Yep.
so then, I mean, not that we did it, but I'm just saying. But then, if so, those kids who could only eat it on Saturday, they had to have this bag of candy for the whole week.
Wow.
So,
Yep.
so until the next Saturday, right? And then they would have like a candy bar, and they would just take a bite, wrap it back in the, you know, in the foil, and then just keep it. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, if my brother and I had to have a candy bar, we'd eat the whole thing at once.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I always thought, oh yeah, I mean, now thinking back, oh, maybe that was a great idea, not to eat the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was always fun. It's like, yeah, once you open a bag, it did not get closed again, you know?
Right. That's right. Wow.
Yeah. So that's funny.
That is great.
But this is pretty good. Absolutely.
Good.
A lot to think about.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, with the water, so as much water you drink, you know, that would also fill you up.
It really does. It's so important for our whole body, for our whole system to stay hydrated. You know, everything from our digestive system to our brain. It's we need that water.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I do drink more water than I do in the office, right? Because in the office you have to walk like 50 feet to get to the bathroom, but over here
Right.
it's so close when you're home.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about that.
I have to worry about, oh, I have to go now, right? So yeah, so that definitely helped.
Good.
More intake, yeah.
That's great.
All right.
Well, good. Well, thanks for coming, and I will hopefully see you next week at the lifestyle talk.
Yeah.
Great.
We'll talk tomorrow. I think we have.
Yes, that's right. We'll talk tomorrow anyway.
Okay.
All right. All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.